Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Developers Den podcast, where we talk about everything in the games industry, but from the eyes of two indie devs. My name is Siavash, and my co-host is Sydney. Today, I just realized that I need to change the overlay of this podcast because I changed my Twitter handle, and yeah.
Did you?
But thankfully, I can do that in post, so that's when you guys are looking at it, it's all gonna look fine. Yeah, I'm the Sunnyside dev now.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah. And speaking of me changing usernames, shameless plug, I have a Twitch channel now. You can go ahead and follow if you want. It's my personal channel, so I do game dev on there, but I also play games on it. You can find it under Sunnyside Dev. So feel free to check that out. I try to stream at least once or twice a week.
We should add that to the
Yeah, I'll do
thingy.
that. Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, I've been working on a stream pet, actually. I think you got a glimpse of that. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
The kitty cat.
A little kitty
With the
cat, yeah.
biscuits.
So today on another episode of State of the Industry, so we were going to record our Had Indie first, but we decided to do a State of the Industry and release it today because we were going to talk about a few games that are coming out. By the time you listen to it, it might already be out, but we are going to be talking about Metaphor and
Rainy's
Silent
very
Hill
excited.
2. I'm very excited. Yeah, Metaphor is coming out on the 11th, and if I remember correctly,
It's
Silent
Friday.
Hill 2 is coming out on the 9th.
Which is Wednesday.
8th, actually.
Tomorrow?
So, tomorrow. And people have already been playing it. If you pre-ordered it, you would get it early, like 2 days on PlayStation and stuff. So that's why there's so much
really?
footage of it out there. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, but we wanted to kind of talk about these games because, you know, we usually talk about crappy stuff happening in the industry. But
We've become John Oliver. We're
have-
just talking about sad, depressing stuff. And
unfortunately, yeah. But we have such a good kind of week in the industry right now, at least for AAA sector, that we wanted to celebrate this. I mean, actually, probably even better that it's AAA, because if you think
Yeah,
about it,
AAA's
at least
been
in my
garbage
opinion,
lately.
indies have been doing fine. Indies, you know, the games, people are, you know, treat indies very differently, obviously based on their scale, but AAA has been kind of crap with some of the games that have
It's
come out
almost-
recently. So
it's almost become more common for AAA games to fail than it has for AAA games to succeed.
that's true.
So now
yeah.
we're at the point where when they do succeed, we have to celebrate because it's become a rarity.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. You know, over this past weekend, funny enough, I downloaded a game. I was watching a friend's stream, and I don't know what they were talking about because we were just yapping in the chat. But I decided to download Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And
Really?
that is, yeah. So that is my favorite Assassin's Creed. I grew up with that
What?
one. You like Black Flag, don't you?
Traitor. I
You
thought
like-
we were buddies on this one.
Your
Can't believe you would do
your
this to
favorite
me.
is Black Flag, right?
Of course, it's the
Of
only
course.
good one.
Yeah. Well. I beg to differ, but no. Look, Black Flag
I
is
love Black
it's
Flag.
good for a very different reason. So yeah, I was playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I also downloaded Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Syndicate is the London one.
Yeah, I've heard Syndicate was good. I haven't played it. I have it. I haven't played it.
It's okay. It's
Okay.
just about okay. There is a YouTube channel called White Light. I watch a lot of his videos. He goes into a lot of depth analyzing a lot of Ubisoft games, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creeds mostly. You should watch his
Interesting.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag video. It's incredible. He goes through every single thing that makes that game great in a game devy sort of approach. It's amazing. But I recommend
Send me some links.
Yeah, I recommend looking up White Light here on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. But he had a video on Assassin's Creed Syndicate and why it's kind of just mediocre.
I'm just gonna lean back for this podcast. Just kind of.
Just relaxing, yeah.
I'm gonna chill.
But-
This is a rainy podcast, guys, so I'm gonna
True.
chill a little bit.
I hope you all are
Okay,
ready
keep
for
going.
me just talking about random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and you know, I'm just we kind of set this podcast up to talk about Metaphor and Silent Hill, but I'm gonna take a moment to talk about Assassin's Creed. Very random. But what do you think about this statement? People play Assassin's Creed for its world or for its story? Which one is a more of a push to go? Do you play Assassin's Creed to go back to that time, meet all the characters and historical figures, go around the worlds during that time period, or the story of the main character?
Answer, that is I think it's a very personal answer to each person who plays it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could generalize that.
I think it depends on the game.
I think it depends on the person. Because some people value history. Yeah. And to me, that's the only reason I play those games. For me, the gameplay is almost in the way.
Interesting.
Because I literally just want to run around and go through the story and do literally nothing else. There are other people for whom the story is in the way, and they just want to run on walls and get into trouble. So I think it's a very personal thing for every person. So I found
Syndicate's main storyline boring.
Well, let me finish what I was saying.
All right, carry on.
I think what makes those games so successful is that it can appeal to both. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes so you're hitting two very different markets. Yeah. And making them both happy. And that balance is so important for them to maintain. And as soon as the balance is off, they alienate one side. Yeah. And so I think that's why some have done better than others, is because they go too far from one to the other. I think Black Flag, the reason it's so good is because it was so balanced between the two. Yeah. There wasn't
Black Flags. Yeah. Black Flag had a very good main story. I think.
Yeah. But it didn't get in the way of the gameplay.
No, Edward was one of the better protagonists they've had. Yeah. And I think there's a very small group of people who also find the real life sections fun. I know
that's actually what keeps me playing.
I know. I really like the real life connections, but I know for a lot of people it kind of gets in the way. It's funny if you think about it, because Ubisoft kind of removed it themselves because they just kind of distanced themselves from it too. Yeah. But in Black Flag Rogue is really the last one where you actually go around in the real world and do stuff. Yeah. Because in Unity and then followed by Syndicate, they're all just reduced to cutscenes, and they might as well not exist at that point.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's a bummer. They do something cool where you kind of time travel through these portals in the world because Animus is going weird. Right. So you play Unity, for example, during the French Revolution, but you go through a time gate and you go during World War II, where there you can climb the Eiffel Tower. I think they really just wanted to allow you to climb Eiffel Tower, which is fair enough. It's a cool set piece. But they do kind of frame it in that way. But for me, I think the Ezio series, I'll play that for the story. Because I think it's cool to meet Leonardo da Vinci and all the other Machiavelli and all the other famous Italian historical figures. But really for me, until Black Flag, until Assassin's Creed 3, I didn't see too much of a value in playing for the historical side of things. Assassin's Creed 3 was the one where I realized, okay, this is a lot more engraved in history. Because, you're in America during the colonization period, right? And there's so many figures that pop out in there, and Black Flag follows that. In Syndicate, they go kind of crazy with it. You meet Darwin, you meet Alexander Graham Bell, you meet so many figures. The thing is,
for me, it was always so much less about who you meet, and it was more about the accuracy of the geography, is what I found the most compelling. Okay. The actual world itself. But with Black Flag, the part of the story that intrigued me more than anything was the real world story. Because if you haven't played it, basically you're working at a game development studio.
Oh, yeah. Black Flag, yes.
So clever.
Yeah.
And you're going through memories so that this game development studio can use the information that you're you're gaining to put into their games. And it's so smart. And there's this whole, like, you know, it's a great for people who've never played any of the Assassin's Creed games, because you're really just starting at zero. You don't have to know what's going on.
Starting point, yeah.
And you're discovering this weird underhandedness of this company for the first time. And you get to walk around and stuff. And I thought it was genius. And the reason I put it down is actually because I stopped progressing on that side. I wasn't getting the new cutscenes and stuff for probably my own bad gameplay. But I think when they abandoned that whole perspective of it and just went with, oh, these are just historically accurate games people can run around and play. And then I think they went way too open world after a while.
I'm not the biggest fan of the RPGs. Much. They all look like Witcher clones to me. No shade to people who enjoy it, but I've tried to enjoy them, but
it's too much.
I can't.
Black Flag arguably was an insanely huge map. I think probably one of the biggest they had done. I could be wrong on that, but it's especially all the sailing and everything. But it still is very finite in how it exists, you know? And I feel like as soon as you start getting away from that into like the finiteness of the map, and you know, the Black Flag map, even though it was big, was still designed really well so that you could explore everything without it feeling like too much. And I feel like with open world, and this is just my problem with open world stuff in general, as soon as you get to the point where it's becoming a chore to explore everything, it's not fun anymore. So, but that's just, I just have a problem with open world games. And I think a lot of people in the industry are developing issues with open world games, which let's move away from this, because we could talk about this all day. You've watched the stuff with Metaphor, right? How open world is Metaphor?
Well, I played a demo as well.
Okay.
The demo, I didn't finish the demo, so I didn't get to the point where you have the open world to you. So I'm actually not sure what the extent of the open world is. I know it has open world in it. Yeah. But I think from the way I understand it, it's like open areas. So you have like a whole town to go to, and then like you can travel to another place. Yeah. Like Persona, but like make the maps like 5-10 times bigger.
So more like Witcher.
I suppose so. You have like sections and then you travel between them.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And from the way it looks, in the trailers that I've seen, you have like a mode of transportation too, like a flying thing that you can fly to different places with. And it has a top-down map that you can go to different places that are like in a region.
Okay.
Yeah. But what is Metaphor? We should tell everyone, by the way.
I don't know. This is all you.
Well, Metaphor, ReFantazio is what is the full title of it, is the newest title from the company called Atlas. If you are unfamiliar with Atlas, they are the studio behind games, the Persona series games. That's what they're mostly famous for. So they've created Persona, 3 through 5, all of them. Yeah, pretty
Persona
much.
Everything.
And they also make Shin Megami Tensei on the side. So just a small little studio. They don't do a lot. So great. Metaphor. So Atlas for a very long time has been focusing on after the huge crazy amount of success that Persona 5 had. I would even be so bold as to say I feel like Persona 5 got a lot more became a lot more mainstream after 5, because I think it was a bit of a niche, not too niche, but it was a bit of a niche JRPG with Persona 3 and 4, because I played 4 on Vita and I only played it because one of my friends knew about it. So it wasn't like something you would find out in the open. So Persona 5 really got a lot of eyes on Persona series, but for a long time Atlas decided to do a lot of spin-offs of Persona 5. We had Persona Strikers come out, we had Persona Q as well come out, and they just did a lot of things in between. So I'm really glad to see them kind of move away from Persona 5 because I was kind of getting a bit worried that they're going to fall. Yeah, I was getting worried into them falling into the curse of just working on that one game with the same characters. Because Persona 5 has incredible characters in my opinion, but at the same time, I want the story to rest. I want to just put it aside and enjoy it and look at it and see that it was done. I feel like, I don't want a Walking Dead situation. Where it just continues on for too long. So Metaphor is a new game from Atlas. It's unlike Persona games. It doesn't happen in the modern day world, and it doesn't even happen in this world. They have a fantasy world. They have their own kind of different races of people, and from the way I played the demo and from the way I was getting it, it's a race story. So different races are thinking they're better than the others, and there's some of the races are suppressed. So, it sounds like a very kind of tired story. It's
very Japanese.
But at the same time,
they do many stories about that.
Yeah.
You look at like all of anime, every single anime that takes place. Well, you could say almost every anime that's like an isekai always has that as like a subgenre, like a sub-story. There's always race struggles. Every single one. Race struggles. Which is so weird because it's not really a thing in Japan.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that they find so much that they go to that kind of story so often because like I could see it being something Americans would go back to but
yeah. See, I'm from Iran.
I don't know, it's a weird,
and Iran is a very monocultural country, right?
Yeah.
And so but like the most stories that people tell in Iran are not to do with race, but it is to do with different, what do you call them? So like societal categories of people, like richer people and the working class. The class struggle, that's what I'm looking for. Class struggle is the main sort of storytelling hook. And to me, I feel like Japan could do a very good job doing class struggle stories.
I feel like there would be more class struggle stories, or like the Persona 5 the whole breaking out of societal norms and challenging societal structures. That makes sense.
That's cool.
That's something I would expect to see from Japan. And you see a lot of stories about people trying to become individuals and searching for individuality, and it's okay to be different. You see a lot of stories like that out of Japan, and that's expected because
but from a conformative sort of society, that makes a lot of sense to come out. Yeah.
So it is really weird to me that like they end up with race and struggles.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of perspective.
And it's fun because maybe I just watch a lot of isekai anime, I don't know, but it's almost always like there's always like beast men in the story somewhere that are like treated like animals. And I just, I wonder like what, I think because I don't have the culture as a reference, that has to be like a known metaphor in Japan that I'm just not getting. Maybe because it comes up all the time in the places where you're like, this isn't even necessary. Like, why is this a subplot? But anyway.
So with Metaphor, it's a fantasy world, and funny enough, they have a book in that game, and they read stories of this other world that exists, that it's just one race and they don't have conflict between them, and it's like the utopia, and the photos look like our world, which I don't think it's our world supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be like a perfect version of our world.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. But yeah, it is set up in also, there's another weird thing about this game, or a different thing about this game compared to other Persona games, is that normally Persona games happen within the confines of our life, our everyday life. So, people have mobile phones, people have TVs, all that stuff. The setup for this one is very much medieval Europe. So visually, it looks a ton like Attack on Titan. And I really love it. It looks like medieval Europe, and it's really cool. Yeah, they got like German names, they got English names.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, yeah. I think the main guy is called not main guy. One of your first companions, his name is Leon Stroll. So that's a very kind of European name.
I do want to mention, because I don't know, maybe this is just me feeling sassy today, but we got so much crap from people about making Sunnyside take place in Japan.
Well, Japan does it all the time about doing games in other countries.
But Japan does it all the time.
Yeah.
And like, for some reason, that's okay. Yeah. For them to, like, one of my favorite anime is Spy Family, and it takes place in like a fictional Europe and America.
Yeah. And
then
Japan
there's another
loves Europe and England as well.
Yeah,
they do so much English stuff.
There's like the Moriarty series that's like about Sherlock Holmes. There's well, it's actually about Moriarty, but whatever. Which is obviously messing with Sherlock Holmes in English literature. There's
Ghibli movies or Ghibli movies. They
are
mostly
I never really
kind of a European.
think of that. I never really think of that as anime.
Think about Kiki's Delivery Service is very European looking.
To me, that's not anime because it's one person
it's not
his
anime.
vision.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, it's anime style, but because it's one person and like his vision of things, that's why I don't ever think of it as like anime as a group.
Would you say One Piece is like very Caribbean?
One Piece is all over the place.
It is, yeah, true.
It's everything. You can't. Everything. But no, the other one I was thinking of is Tanya's. Evil. Oh crap! What's it called? It's about a guy who gets isekai'd to what is effectively World War II Germany.
Oh my god!
As a little girl.
Damn. Okay.
And this little girl ends up like taking over the military, and it's amazing. Kevin would remember the name of it. It's like one of his favorite anime. I'll send it to you afterwards because it's like right on the tip of my tongue. But it's so good. But again, it's like very obsessed with, but I think the thing is what Japan usually does, and I think why it works for them, is it's never actually that country.
It's always a bit of a
fictional country.
Yeah.
But with like it's like this is Germany, we're just going to call it something else. So maybe that's where we went wrong, is by like actually calling it Japan. We should have just made up a fictional name. And
well, here's the thing, I feel like for future games that we will make, we are I would speak for myself that I'm definitely going to do Japanese themes again, for sure.
Yeah, but we'll never say it's Japan.
Like that. But we'll never say it's Japan. And here's the thing, a lot of times if you don't have any signs in that language in the game, you can just say it's Asia. You can just say it's East Asia. Nobody would be any wiser that it's, I don't know, it's Hong Kong, it's Japan, it's Korea. Because you can draw a lot of similarities in how those cities and
so we hear you guys. We learned our lesson. We'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Everything's fictional moving forward.
But for Metaphor, they've gone with the medieval Europe, and the voice acting is incredible. You will probably remember
Japanese
some names. I actually played in English. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I usually play. Let me see if I can find their behind the voice actors, and I'll send it your way, just like right now, because you will know some of these people.
I probably will.
Yeah, there it is. A lot of the voice actors are actually English, so their accents work so authentically well. And like I said, that Stroll character, Lauren absolutely loves the voice actor. He also did a voice in Final Fantasy 16.
I don't know any of these people.
Stuart Clark is his name.
Yeah, I don't know any of these guys.
They got, and what's interesting to me as well is that they got a lot of new faces.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's very good.
Good for them.
Another thing, Persona 3 Reload, that remake of Persona 3 that they made, almost all the voice actors are first-timers. And they did a fantastic job. And I'm so glad that it's been happening more often, just giving new voices a place.
A lot of these are all brand new. Like, this is the only thing they've done. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And their voices are fantastic. They're so good. So yeah,
the thing is,
shout out to them.
When it comes to, I'm just going to go off on a tangent. When it comes to casting voice actors, if you already have the brand, Atlas has the advertising.
You don't need to advertise for the sake of the.
You don't need to have a big actor in order to drive advertising. So they have the ability to reach their hand out to the newcomers and pull them up. Whereas people like us at indies, we need 1 or 2 huge names.
Yeah, I see.
To help drive the advertising. So it makes me happy that a lot of these larger game developers are now reaching out to smaller people and going through full casting processes. But at the same time, it does make me feel kind of bad because we get the indie voice actors reaching out to us saying, hey, I want to help. I'm like, I would love to, but I need somebody who's way bigger than you. Like, I need Natalie Van Sistine.
Yeah. And to be clear,
and that's why we reached out to her.
There's another reason is because we're going to need their help for the direction is a little bit too. But I feel like, you could probably strike a nice mix of both. Because you could work with new voices and kind of figure it out together. Kind of similar with like how a new never game dev'd before person would join a studio and grow with the rest of the team. It just depends what part of the process you're at and if you have that time and space to go through it. Because if you get a professional, somebody who's done other gigs, you give them the voice lines, you sit with them through one session that takes an hour, done and dusted. But it might be more of an investment if you got somebody, especially if you got somebody who isn't actually got an agent or anything, or haven't really done any voice acting before. That does happen. It would be, but honestly, if you have the time for it, the process is really worth it. And I'd say go for it, because you will find a loyal friend as well, not just somebody who would work for you. Yeah. But yeah, to go back to Metaphor, fantastic voice acting, and most of them have English accents, as you would imagine, medieval Europe, and the accents are great because most of them are actually English as well, so it's all very authentic. I might play it. It's on PlayStation, right? Yeah, it'll come out.
I might sit down and play it.
Do it.
What I can tell you, I will not be playing is Silent Hill.
Oh boy, yeah. So to close the book on Metaphor, though,
I'm a giant wuss.
to quickly close the book on Metaphor, it's got a 94 Metacritic score as we speak. It got a 10 out of 10 from GameSpot and 9 out of 10 from IGN, and flying scores from some other places. And it is already a must-play on
it's also
Metacritic.
Just really nice to see Atlas do something else.
Yeah, I'm really glad. So Silent Hill 2. So as you might have guessed by the title of the game, it is a remake of one of their older games. So Silent Hill 2...
I don't know anything about Silent Hill.
Oh, really?
Zero. I avoid this stuff at all costs. The only thing I know about it is the pyramid head things. Right? That's Silent Hill, right?
Well, Pyramid Head is only from Silent Hill 2, but yeah.
The only reason I know about it is because people dress up at it as that at Comic-Con.
Conventions.
Or like conventions. Yeah. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I never would have seen it. So for somebody who doesn't know anything about Silent Hill, how many games are there?
Oh, God. There's a lot of spin-offs. So I have to Google this. Let's see. How many Silent Hill...
Wow. Okay, that's... So it's like Final Fantasy. There's like 1,000 of them.
Yeah, well, because it's Konami, they also have pachinko machines, believe it or not, with Silent Hill theme.
Oh my god.
There are There's Silent Hill 1, Silent Hill 2, 3, 4, Origins, Homecoming, Shattered Memories, Downpour. So those are the mainline games, and that's all we need to count.
Why are we excited about Silent Hill 2 being remade?
Yeah, so Silent Hill
is this the best one?
Well, yes, arguably. So Silent Hill has 8 games. Silent Hill started as a very, very little project at Konami. And Konami actually didn't have a lot of faith in the project either. They had a lot of new game devs that were working on it. And they called themselves Team Silent. And there were a lot of new game devs that worked in this project, so Konami didn't have a lot of faith in them. But they came out with Silent Hill 1, which was it was a big success. The reason it was a big success is because Silent Hill is pretty much the inventor of psychological horror genre. They were the first...
In video games.
Yeah, they were the first to go for a psychological aspect of horror that a lot of other games hadn't touched. And the stories that
Hold on. When did the first Silent Hill come out?
1999.
Okay. That's fair.
So at the time,
I know that Fear was one of the first ones too.
Yeah, Fear was one of the first ones too. Yeah. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of the psychological, deeper kind of symbolisms and stuff were not really commonplace in video games. We have a lot of that these days with symbolism and kind of hidden meanings.
Which reminds me, if you, viewer, if you have never heard of Fear, go check it out right now. Pull up another window, Google it. It is horrifying.
It is.
Okay, that's all. Sorry, continue.
Well, here's the thing. Fear is a very, very unique and inventive game. It's a crazy, crazy game.
It's crazy. Yeah. I've never played it. I only watched a friend play it for like 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But that game
it's really well done. It is
wild.
Really well done. The game came out in 2005.
Okay, so after Silent Hill.
Yeah. So Silent Hill 2 originally came out in 2001. That was the most successful Silent Hill probably ever, I would venture to say.
What's the gameplay mechanics? Like what do you do?
Silent Hill classic. So classic Silent Hill, not counting some of the newer entries where they went a bit more experimental with it, uses a very simple formula. You're essentially puzzle solving. So solving environmental puzzles while you are trying to survive all the monsters around you, which is also the formula for Resident Evil, arguably. But Silent Hill has a much more of a darker, kind of oppressive atmosphere at the same time. Okay. Yeah. So you go to a door. The door has a symbol of a moon on it. You need to go find a gem that looks like the moon, and then to find the gem, you have a bunch of monsters.
So it's a scarier version of Portal.
Well, the puzzles are a lot more kind of out there, rather than just like a one mechanic of using portals.
But it's a scarier version of Portal.
It's a scary puzzle game.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But it's a very super simple gameplay loop, and we are at the time for our normal version of our podcast. So I'm just going to quickly wrap up and say, go play Silent Hill 2 if you like horror games. It's the best entry in the series. And in the extended version, we're going to go a bit more into it and my own history with Silent Hill and why I think it's great. And
how Silent Hill actually inspired Rainy to make Sunnyside.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Silent Hill was somewhat responsible for that, actually, believe it or not.
Super weird origin story there, but
if you would like to listen to the extended version of this podcast, you can support us down below on Patreon. Thank you so much for your consideration, and you also get these episodes earlier on. We are planning on some new and exciting news for our Patreons very soon. So it might be this very month.
You should join up.
You should join up.
I will go so far as to tell you that depending on what tier of Patreon you back, you will get testing access to future games that we work on. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes.
But you should check that out.
So do consider that. And if you haven't watched the previous episode if you do support us on Patreon, or if you don't, we have the previous episode that we recorded had a very, very, very important extended version that we talked about a lot of stuff of what's happening with RainyGames at this time. Now, we will obviously share everything that we talked about in that episode publicly when we can. When we are able to. Again, I'm going to leave it at that. But if you would like to get the tea on what's happening, you can also support us on Patreon and listen to the extended version of the previous episode, so it's episode 25. And you get all the tea about what's been happening at RainyGames, what our plans are.
Oh, the tea.
And yeah. So I want to make sure that people go and listen to that. So if you do want to support us on Patreon, you can go ahead and listen to that. Otherwise, you can wait, and hopefully we will have all the latest news at RainyGames for everybody. But thank you so much for your consideration, and thank you for listening to us. We will see you next week on an episode of How to Indie. Bye.